Yep.
Hey 80s fans, this is Peter Dankelson from Pete's Diary, and you're listening to DC at DH on the D&D Dynamite 80s podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, another episode of D&D Dynamite 80s. I'm DH.
And I'm DC.
DC, how are you, brother?
Good. How are you?
Oh, another busy week.
You got that right,
Man,
man.
we've got something special for everybody today. I can't wait.
We most certainly do.
So,
we most certainly do.
Very special guest.
Yes.
And I'm going to turn it over to you and let you do the introduction.
Sure.
And I'm excited about it.
Yes. We have Sandy Hall joining us from Kick It Out, Heart Tribute Band in the Philadelphia area. They've traveled and they play all over the place, though. We'll get more into that here in just a little bit. But Sandy, how are you today?
Very well, thank you.
We appreciate you coming on and being with us.
Yes, we appreciate your time.
Yeah, DH, just a little background. I did some research. YouTube's great, of course, and came across Sandy and the band, and just was blown away by the talent.
This is the cool thing. When I was kind of reading up and doing the background, I mean, you've won Artist of the Year. I've seen that. You founded Northridge Musical School, founder of Kick It Out, which is a Heart tribute band.
Right.
Vocalist, songwriter, performer, vocal coach, mentor. And as if that wasn't a full plate, she's also a registered nurse.
You got that right.
How amazing.
So we know what kind of
Wow.
deal she's been through in the last couple of years here. So
definitely.
Hats off to you on that, all that stuff.
Definitely. Just an amazing individual.
Yeah,
and I really
absolutely.
appreciate you taking
Very
time out of
talented.
your schedule to be with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Join in.
Let me start with this first. What and it's just the general question that you probably have been asked 100 million times. What got you started in music, and at what age?
I started very early. It's a great question. Thank you. I started very early. I was actually in grade school. This is another, I don't know if you know this, but I was born in Croatia and I came here when I was 7 years old with my family. And I was kind of shy, and I still am more of an introvert than an extrovert. But it was a way to get accepted, I think, in grade school. I loved music. I kind of fell in love with music. I don't know if you know the movie Almost Famous, where the kid, are you familiar with that? And he puts the album on. His sisters gave him all these albums, these amazing albums from the 70s. And he sits down and he just falls in love and gets obsessed with music. That's kind of how it was for me, because I was a little bit shy and coming from another country. I just fell in love with music, and I used to sit in my room with my little record player playing, and I would sing along. And I went to Catholic school, and I had a sister Geraldina that taught piano lessons, and I wanted to learn piano so badly. So she had me also sing along as for $2 a half hour once a week at lunchtime. But it was, it's fond memories, because she really was the first one to tell me that I could sing, and she had me solo in church, which I'm sure you've heard a lot of vocalists, no matter what type of religion, I think a lot of times start out in church. It's an opportunity to get up there, and I was probably in 4th grade, and she had me soloing, and I still remember this. And the older I get, these memories are more vivid. I can't remember my code to get into my phone, but I can remember this.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it?
I know that.
Sounds very familiar.
Yeah, but I remember sitting the first time I sang like that in front of church, in front of the congregation, I guess, and I didn't feel my legs, or like from the waist down. I literally did not feel that part of my body. It's such a weird feeling. I've had that happen a couple other times, but Yeah, that's a great question. So I think it was just coming out of that and just falling in love with music, and
Yeah.
it made me feel good, and the kids were like, oh, more accepting of me. Yeah. So that's how I started, I think.
Gotcha.
That's
So,
really going back.
to kind of follow up on that from where you started, I've heard your voice has been compared to like some of the powerhouse iconic individuals in music, such as Pat Benatar, Stevie Nicks, Melissa Etheridge, and listening to your vocals, it's just amazing. What are your thoughts on that, knowing where you started and how you came through to be, I guess, not compared, but thought of on that level, because you do have amazing vocals.
Thank you. That's really kind. I've worked really hard at increasing my range. And when I first started, I was more of that Karen Carpenter range. I am an alto, and you can tell, by my speaking voice. But I've been able to increase that range. And I did have, I had early experiences performing. And any performer that you speak to, you really get your chops, quote unquote, by performing frequently. So I played out a lot. And even when I was in high school, during that time in high school, it was like in the early 80s, late 70s. And the area that I'm in here in the Philadelphia area, it was amazing. You had not bars, but you had nightclubs with, full sound and lights, a nice stage. It was really like a way to showcase the talent here. And I had an opportunity to be in bands, and I was performing 4 nights a week, even in high school, which I don't know why my parents let me do that, quite honestly. But I did, I did that, and I performed a lot. And with that, you sort of naturally, your range kind of increases. But you have to be careful. So I had gotten a vocal teacher who had an opera background, and she taught me some exercises that I utilized. But the biggest thing that has improved my personal range is really being in this Heart Tribute the last since 2008. What is like 14 years now?
Yes.
Because with singing that material, it's very challenging, and you're challenging yourself to to honor that person and do your best. So I think it's really improved my range. And I have to mention this just as not to be name mentioning. I kind of hate when people do that, but I don't know if you're aware of Kip Winger from the band Winger in the 80s.
He lives here in the Nashville area, actually.
Yes, he does live there. But I took a couple of lessons with him. Wow. There was a lot after Winger sort of, made it. And then because of grunge, there was a lull, and he was doing lots of other things like performing acoustically at very small venues and was more accessible. And he was doing vocal lessons via Skype. So I did take a couple from him that actually I use the techniques now too, because they're good techniques, techniques to kind of increase someone that has an alto range, which is like here, to go into that other register without going into your what's called like a head voice, so that you're still full and your sound is full as it can be. I could talk vocals all day.
Well, you have amazing vocals. I'll say that.
Let me ask this as well. Since you mentioned the band, 2008 was the year it kind of got established. Talk to me a little bit about how that came about and those fabulous musicians there. Tell me a little bit about them.
Thank you. They're the connection. Well, the key person along with me in the band, obviously, just like Ann and Nancy, is Susan Salmon, who is the Nancy in the band. I have known her since high school, and we both kind of grew performing. And I had gone to a concert here in Philadelphia. It was Heart, Cheap Trick, and Journey. And when I've been singing Heart music for a very long time before there were tributes. It was always part of like a repertoire because I love them. And so I looked out in the audience and I was like, wow, these people, we don't have a Heart tribute in this local area. And these people are all here loving them, and they're local people. So would they not want to have, come and see a Heart tribute. And I thought of Susan right away because she's an amazing musician. She actually plays the parts. Some Heart tributes, and there are a lot of them, East Coast and West Coast, that I've, checked out.
Right.
Good ones, really good ones. And so many of them have a Nancy in the band, but I noticed that they don't play the parts. And Susan really plays the parts. She's a classically trained musician. And she's also a beautiful woman, very good stage presence. And we knew each other. So we had sort of, even though we weren't blood sisters, we had like a sister connection,
And that kind of explains what you see
That
on
makes
stage,
sense.
because we were because we've known each other since we were old enough to walk and went to high school together and all that. And we, it's kind of, we were like, oh, they have kind of that natural, they've been friends, or something.
You can tell.
So you can tell it's a natural connection. It really flows on stage. So it's
Absolutely.
really cool.
Absolutely.
One of the things I'm always interested in, and I've never asked this before, but I've always wanted to, because being a performer and a songwriter, which of those, and I don't know that the right word is more satisfying, but I mean, the creativity of writing the song and the creativity of performing the song, which one I guess I'll go with more satisfying. I don't know that that's the right term, but I've always wondered that, because it's so cool to have somebody that is so talented they can write the music and perform the music. I can't do either.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I need vocal lessons. You think?
I don't think that'd help you. I don't know how much that would help you, but good luck with that.
Another excellent question. I can just tell you, personally how I feel, and I'm pretty open. I'm kind of like, wear my heart on my sleeve kind of person. And I'll tell you how I feel. I mean, for me, when I sing the Heart songs and I go up into that high register or other material, but it's been, Heart for such a long time now, it really is, it's like a stress reliever. And when you go up in that high register, it's almost like a shout sing, if so to speak. So you're shouting and then you're singing, and it releases endorphins. So I find that extremely gratifying. And with my day job, I find it even more gratifying, the ability, and I'm grateful to have the ability to be able to do that as a stress reliever. Now, for songwriting, I am shy about the songwriting, and I never feel like my stuff is good enough. So I've worked with a lot of friends that write, but I have written a few songs, and there is something really special about that in a different way, where you're really raw and open as a songwriter, because you're really putting yourself out there and your feelings. I just know so many great songwriters. I always feel like, they already said it better than I can say it. So that's been my struggle. But I have a friend, and I use this phrase a lot, especially as I'm getting a little more mature. I have a friend, Eric Miller. If he watches this, shout out to Eric. He said to me, "You're so hung up on how old you are." And it's because I grew up really being a female in, the music business that really does put a lot of value on age, and looks and all that, especially in the 80s. It was even more important. He said the artist journey never ends. And I really feel that's such a wise statement, because you can always do that, right? Like you can still be creative. Yeah.
Well, it's really cool that you mentioned the stress relief, because we're both high school teachers, teach at the same school. And that's why we started the podcast, to have some fun. And so that's kind of that stress relief. So that's really cool. And
I was thinking the same
cool?
exact thing.
That's really cool.
I was thinking the same exact thing. And to kind of piggyback off that was kind of the next thing I want to talk to you about a little bit. As teachers, we don't give a lot of joy to, I don't think, to students.
Hey,
but
for yourself.
Well, yeah, maybe you do. But I've always wondered this, as a performer, it's got to give you some kind of sense of joy to know that that's going to be a lasting impression on people. The music. What's your feelings on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I fall in love, like I said, I fall in love with music. I fall in love with musicians. and it's not, you know, a romantic love. It's a different kind of love. I just get sort of obsessed by different musicians. And I guess you would say that I would be, you know, I fell in love with Ann and Nancy Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that there is, I mean, there's a lot of research out there, and now using my nursing brain, you know, and you guys know, being educators, that there's a lot of research out there that there is this feeling and healing type of thing that happens to the body with music. And I think it's so valuable, and I think people really need it. And there is an amazing, when people relate, like I always think if there's just one person in the audience that connects to me, then I've done the job, even if there's 300 or 3,000 people.
Yeah.
But if I've made one person feel good that night by the way that I expressed, you know, my feelings and this love of this particular song I'm singing, if I've moved them, then
Yes.
my job is done. You know,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'm moved when I see people. I mean, I am so moved, and I love going out to see music, not having as much with this pandemic, but going live, you know, to see people. There is something different than the recording, sort of, you know, you get more out of, you feel the energy of the person live. So
Right.
yeah. Mhm.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Yeah, you know, just for me, when I watch your band and other bands that we've interviewed, it just brings back that, I don't know, it's just the nostalgia of the music and the memories, and you know, that's kind of that area where, I mean, let's face it, we're in a different world now, and things are not as good as they were in the 80s. So, I mean, at this point, you know,
Yeah.
so I'm kind of,
It's still good music.
it really is. I guess that's where I was trying to
Sure.
put it short.
Yeah.
It's feel good music,
Yeah.
and it really does make a difference
Yeah.
for folks. And
Yeah.
and I've noticed, even with like my students, they're listening to 80s music now.
Yeah.
And it's really cool when they come in and they start singing something, and I'm like, and I pick right
I
up.
know
and they're
this.
like,
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, that's that's my time. So it's really cool.
Just
Yeah.
another way to connect.
Yeah.
80s music was fun. Don't you think 80s music
Oh.
was a lot of and a
Absolutely.
little positive, you know?
Fun times.
And-
Yeah.
And the thing we've talked about before, and see if you agree with this, music in the 80s, I listened to more hair metal, but I listened to everything because everything was really fun. It's like you said, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
A lot of
yeah.
genre
Yeah.
music. Yeah. Absolutely. Let me ask this. I know you're just full of excitement and joy about being nominated and then winning.
I thought
Let's
you was
talk
gonna
about
say
the award.
being on our show.
Well, that too, but yeah, that too. But no, the Josie Award.
Oh, yes.
Oh man, talk about how all that kind of took place and happened for you.
That was really cool. I got involved last year in 2021 with an organization called Ladies Who Rock for a Cause. And that is usually a festival that's done in person, but because of the pandemic, 2021, they did it virtually, and you had to have, you know, originals versus covers. And I had been asked to do it with Kick It Out prior years, but we couldn't make it happen. Long story short, I was an opportunity to showcase some of my original material, and all the women that performed is all women, and they were amazing, really, like amazing artists. Were many of them had either won or were nominated in the past for the Josie Award. So I was like, what is this Josie Award thing? And I checked it out, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and just, you know, put this in there. Like, why not? And again, a lot of us musicians that weren't performing were looking for other opportunities to perform, express ourselves. So I thought, you know, I'll do that and see what happens. And I got nominated in multiple categories. One of them, actually, I saw a tribute category, and I was like, well, I'll submit Kick It Out for, you know, being the vocalist, Ann Wilson, I'll do that. And I didn't win in that category. An Elvis impersonator won, which he's really great. So that's cool. But it, you know, you would think so, right? I mean, that, you know, Heart, I think, is going to be a tough sell for a tribute category when you're up against Elvis. But I just was amazed at the talent, and I went to Pigeon Forge. I'd never been to Pigeon Forge, and I really, really liked it there. Thought, we'll go to the event and see how it is. And then Artist of the Year was actually one of the last categories. And I think it ended up being like a 3-hour show. And by that time I was like hungry, and I thought, I win because I got, I didn't win in the other categories. And I thought, I'm not going to win, but it's cool to be nominated, and very talented people there. And then they called my name, and I was like shocked. So it was very, what's the word? It's validating
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
anything that you do like that. And I've spent a good part of my life in the music business in many different aspects. So just getting that nomination and then the award really validated a lot that I've done. Like, wow, I mean, it's not the Grammys, but there are a lot of independent artists that put
Exactly.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So
It's
very
awesome.
On the way out, first of all, thanks again for
Yes,
your
thank you so
time.
much.
I'm curious on this before you give all our folks that listen how to follow you guys and listen to your music. Before you give us that, I'm curious. What's the last 80s band or solo artist that you were listening to?
Oh my gosh. It literally today was Winger.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. How can Sandy, how can they follow? Go ahead.
Winger, and it was Mr. Big. I really like Mr. Big too.
Fantastic.
With Eric Martin.
Good stuff. Good stuff. How can they follow you, Sandy?
They can follow us for the Kick It Out Band, kickitoutband.com. And for my solo stuff, it's sandyhook.com, and we're on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, but not so much. Mostly Facebook and YouTube too.
Okay. And,
Fantastic.
and as we go out, if it's okay, I think DC has a little bit of your music pulled up. If you don't mind, we'd like to end off and let our fans just hear a little bit about that, or our followers. I guess they're not really fans. They're forced to listen to the show, but hey,
Let's see
but
what I've got.
folks, if you haven't checked this out, check them out. Kick It Out.
Thank
Amazing band.
DH, another great show, man.
Another great show. As always, folks, you can get us on Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcast, Breaker, Radio Republic. Check out the YouTube channel for the interviews. Also check out the website, and we're active on Twitter. Sandy, I really appreciate you joining us again. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Folks, till next time, I'm DH.
I'm DC. Take care, my friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.